This conference will now be recorded.
No, sir. No, sir.
Now, can you check me? Now, can you hear me? You please check it in the chat box and tell me. Is my voice is clear? Okay, thank you. Okay, let us. Okay, I think so far 39 students have joined. We'll continue, and the rest of the people will join afterwards during our discussion. So, in the last class, I discussed about what is signal, what is system, what are the properties of how we can, what are the various types of signals we discussed in the last class. Now, in today's class, we'll see the rest of the applications of signals and systems. Now, I'm going to share my screen. Here, can you see the screen? Can you see the screen? Say yes or no. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So in today's class, I'm going to discuss about the applications of signals and systems. Then we'll see uh, the classification of signals and the operations of signals and the classification of systems in detail. Now, to start with the applications, the signals and systems can be applied in control systems. This is one application, and it can also be used in communication systems. It can also apply in communication systems. It can be used in signal processing applications also. Now we'll see each of all these applications in detail. Now, if you see control applications, industrial control and automation, where you can control the velocity or position of an object, there you can use this signals and systems. For example, controlling the position of a valve or shaft of a motor, we can use it. And even for vehicles, for controlling the vehicles also, we can use it. Now, the important tools are Here we're going to use time domain solution of differential equations, and the transfer functions, mostly Laplace transforms are used. And here we are going to analyze the concepts of stability. Then coming to this, now see this block diagram. This is an example where you can use signals and systems. Here we, if you observe this, here we have a controller, and this is a plant, and the output of this plant is given to a sensor, and the output of the sensor is given again as an input. If the reference input and the feedback signal that is coming from the sensor is checked, and the error is given as an input to the controller again, that is how it is going to work. And once depending upon the requirement, depending upon the conditions that is written in the sensor that is written, based on that you are going to your output signal is your output is going to control with the given input. That is how you can use this, and all these things you can do when we are sitting in the room, and we can do it. That is how we can use this in control. In most of the times we can use this signals and systems in industry automation. In automation of any industry, most of the time you use this type of systems. Then coming to the applications where we can in communications applications. Now for transmission of information, that is while transmitting the information over a channel, we're going to use this signals and systems. The channel may be free space or coaxial cable or a fiber optic cable. A key component of transmission is we can have modulation, which may be used for analog or digital communication. We'll discuss what is this modulation also in the coming slide. Then now observe this diagram. This is the diagram which shows the general structure of a communication system, where at the input side we have a message signal, and at the output side we are going to estimate of the message signal again. And here we have a transmitter, and the output of the transmitter is that we call the signal which you are going to get at the output of the transmitter. We can call it as transmitted signal, and that is given to a channel. Here this channel can be a wide one or a wireless one, and finally the output of this channel is given to the input to the receiver, which we call it as the received signal. And once after giving this input to the receiver, again we'll get back our original signal from the receiver circuit. This is how we can have it. Let us take a simple example so that you can understand the entire process of a communication system. Let us assume you are addressing in a public addressing system. Then assume that your transmitter is nothing but a mic, and the receiver is nothing but the speaker. And here in between between the speaker and the channel, we have an amplifier is there. Then assume that your message signal is nothing but the voice signal that you are uttering in front of a mic, and this input is given to a mic, and that is converted into an electrical signal, and that is passed through a channel. This channel may be a wide one or a wireless one, and the output of this signal is again given to a power amplifier for amplification and for removing unwanted signals. And after that we are going to give this output to the speaker. Finally you are going to get your original signal back. That is how you are going to get this system. Let us assume that the same thing, if you use a mobile, let us assume that here in the place of transmitter you are having your cell phone, and in the place of receiver your friend is having some phone or landline or a cell phone, and in between you and your friend you have a channel, and this channel may be a wide one again or a wireless one. That means what it will do here is your voice signal is converted into a complex signal with the technique known as modulation. We have analog modulation is there as well as digital modulation is there, and that signal is transmitted over a channel, and at the receiver the modulated signal is to be taken by the receiver, and it will convert back into the original signal. We'll see how it will do. Let us see this example, see this slide. Here we are considering analog modulation. So this is used for transmitting of audio signals. Here we have x of t. This x of t is nothing but your original voice signal. And local oscillator, this local oscillator is going to generate some frequency. And now if you see here we have a multiplier, and the output of this is your voice signal and the signal that is generated by a local oscillator. And here A represents the amplitude of the signal. Now, what is the advantage of this modulation is we can have higher frequency range, good propagation. Now try to understand. Let us assume that suppose your x of t, which is a low frequency signal. That means generally, as you know, voice signal frequency is in the range of 3 to 5 kilohertz. Suppose if you take a signal frequency of 5 kilohertz, assuming that you are having the higher side frequency, 5 kilohertz, using V equal to F lambda or C equal to F lambda, if you calculate lambda, then you will get few thousands or few kilometers of value of lambda. And once, if you want to design an antenna for transmission of your voice signal, you need a larger length of antenna. So to avoid that, we are going to mix your low frequency signal with a local oscillator frequency signal. This local oscillator frequency is a frequency which is a high frequency signal, and you are mixing a low frequency signal with a high frequency signal, then that becomes a complex signal here, and that signal you are transmitting. Now at the receiver side, since you are adding a low frequency component and a high frequency component, that means you are having two frequency components. Let us assume that your x of t is having a frequency component of f1 and your local oscillator is having a frequency of f2. Then here at this place you will get a combination of f1 plus f2 or f1 minus f2. Depending upon that, as your frequency is greater than your f1, the length of the antenna that you need for transmitting of this information should be very small. So that is how we can use this modulation technique to transmit the signal with a high frequency for good propagation. That is the reason why we are adding your low frequency signal with a high frequency signal. Please try to understand here. Here x of t is nothing but your voice signal. Generally, the voice signal frequency is of 3 to 5 kilohertz, whereas this local oscillator frequency will keep it somewhere around 100 kilohertz or 150 kilohertz, like that. Then we are mixing these two, then we'll get a signal with 95 to 105 kilohertz frequency, something like that. Then once if you have that frequency, because of the frequency which you are going to have is a high frequency, you'll have a good propagation. So, and the size of the antenna that is required for transmission also becomes less. So that is how we are using this modulation technique to make your voice signal to transfer over longer distance. Then observe it. Here we have one more modulation known as frequency modulation. Here there are different types of modulations are there. Anyway, this modulation concepts you are going to learn in analog communication in detail. But for the time being, I'm not going to discuss that in detail. We have amplitude modulation, frequency modulation, and phase modulation. There are three types of modulations are there in analog case. In amplitude modulation, the amplitude of your message signal should vary in accordance with the carrier signal. Whereas in frequency modulation, the frequency of the message signal it should vary along with the carrier signal. That is how it should be. So we have a definitions for AM, FM, and PM also, which we'll discuss in detail in analog communication. Then this is a waveform for frequency modulation. Now, if you observe the waveform for frequency modulation, here if you observe, the frequency components are varying, whereas the amplitude remains constant throughout. That's how the variation here. This frequency modulation is more robust to interference. So most of the times, that's why if you observe all your FM channels, they are using frequency. FM means frequency modulation. So 98.3, all that FM radios, all that, they are going to work at high frequencies, and it is more robust to interference. Because of that reason, we are using this frequency modulation. Then coming to digital modulation, we can use these digital modulations in CDs, digital cellular services, digital phones, and computer modems, all that. Even all your even cell phones also will work on the digital modulation only. So that is how you're going to use this. The advantages of using this is it can be encrypted, electronic routing of data is easier, digital storage is faster than analog storage, multimedia capability is there. So these are the advantages of using digital modulation. But you, as an electronics and communication engineer, you should know the importance of signals and systems. Even we can apply these signals and systems for even for analog case as well as for digital case also. Now coming to the other application, which is signal processing application. In signal processing application, signal processing means application of algorithms to modify signals in a way to make them more useful. That means you are applying some algorithms to modify the signals that are required to your application. That's what the signal processing means. So the objective of this is, the goal of this is efficient and reliable transmission is possible. Storage and display of information is possible. Information extraction and enhancement becomes very easy. So the examples of the signal processing applications are speech and audio processing, multimedia processing, that is image and video processing, underwater acoustics, biological signal analysis. All this comes under signal processing applications. That means to do all this, you need signals and you need the concepts of signals and systems. Now observe this signal processing diagram. Here we observe, here we have x of t, and we are converting this a continuous time signal to discrete time signal. That means what we are doing, we are converting an analog signal into a discrete signal that we can do with the help of C to D converter, continuous to discrete time converter. And once after having this, since your input is a discrete one, you are passing that input to a discrete time system, then you will get a discrete time output. Don't worry, we'll see that the classification of systems, you will understand that. Now the output of this discrete time system is given to again this D to C converter, discrete time to continuous time converter. Again, you will get back your analog signal back. This is how you are now observe it. We are taking analog signal and we are converting that analog to this discrete signal, and again we are converting the discrete signal back to analog signal. So this is how we can, that means now try to understand. Here you're doing the processing of converting a continuous signal to a discrete system, and again you are converting back the discrete time system to continuous time system. That is how you can use this. Similarly, we can do this discrete to discrete, and you can convert that discrete to analog continuous also. That is also possible. This diagram shows that. Now we see the other applications where you can use these signals and systems. In multimedia applications, you can do if you use compression, image compression or video compression, all that. So for compression, we can have the advantage of using this compression is fast, efficient, reliable transmission and storage of data. So in such application, we can use this signal processing tools. Then applied on audio, image, and video data for transmission over the internet or storage. So this is another advantage where I will tell you some of the tools also, you can understand it. So we have one tool known as Handbrake. I'll tell you the reason also why we can use this compression principle. Let us assume that most of you are using Gmail accounts. If you use your Gmail account, you have Google Drive. There, the data storage that is given by Google for a particular mail account, mail ID is 15 GB. Suppose if you have 4 videos or 5 videos, if you want to store in Google Drive, with that, since if the image size is very big, automatically you can store only 4 or 5 videos or the information, and you can now if I want to improve that, then I need to go for compression. That is one advantage. That's the reason you can apply this compression for audio, image, and video. Even the use of this is for transmission over the internet or storage. So for storage purpose, for If I do compression, I can store more number of videos and more number of audios and as well as images also. And you can transmit, since the image size is less, automatically I can transmit over internet at faster rate. That is another advantage. So examples is you can in CDs, DVDs, MP3, MPE4, JPG, all that images you can do compression and you can store it in the required format. Then mathematical tools are also there to do this. So the mathematical tools are, we can use Fourier transform, quantization, modulation techniques. With the help of that, we can use this compression. Now observe this JPEG image, you can understand. Now here I have taken image with, I applied some transformation technique. The transformation technique that we applied is discrete cosine transform here, which is similar to Fourier transform. Now, if the image is of 43 kilobytes, then the image is like this. If it is 13 KB, the image is like this. Now, if it is 3.5K, now see the image. So as you go on decreasing the size of the image, you are not in a position to identify the image clearly. So suppose if you observe 43K and 13K, almost both are looking similar. So instead of using 43K, I can use 13K for transmission, for storing of information or for transmission of data. But if I use the 3.5K, you don't get any information. See, you may not visualize what is the image of this, what is the JPEG image that is there. So that's how you can use this technique, signal processing technique, to apply for an image. Then if you observe for biological signal analysis, in biological signal analysis, let us take the examples for brain signals. We call it as EEG, electroangiograms, and for cardiac signals, we call it as ECGs. And for medical images, we call it as X-ray, PET, MRI scans, all that. For processing of all that, we need to use signals and systems. And here we detect the objective of this biological signal analysis is to detect abnormal activities, heart attacks, seizures, or help physicians with diagnosis. So that is the use of this biological signal analysis. Then tools that are used for this is filtering and Fourier transform. Now observe this thing. These are the brain waves are usually contaminated by noise and hard to interpret. So these are the brain waves. So it is very difficult to identify that also. So we have some electrodes and that we keep, and we do with that some analysis. If we do, we have some type of waveforms will look like this. So this is one application where you can use biological signal processing for brain waves. And for biometric, you can use this signal processing even for biometrics also. You can identify a person using psychological characteristics. Then examples: fingerprint identification, face identification, face recognition, voice recognition. These are the things which you can use in biometric applications. To do all that, you need the concepts of signal processing. Then coming to audio signal processing. So when you go for audio signal processing, you want to remove noise cancellation, then we need to go for adaptive filtering and headphones used in cockpits, digital audio effects. There we can add some music effects such as delay, echo, reverb, all that. Then audio signal separation, you can separate the speech from interference also, that is also possible. And wind sound from music in cars, all that you can remove that also, it is possible. You can with the help of this audio signal processing. Now observe this. This is an example for filtering. So if you remove this, if you see this, the image, if you observe that, it looks like that. And this is how the transformation techniques that we applied. Then I hope I have completed the applications part of signals and systems. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. I'm going to use one more PPT to discuss for today's class. Now, can you see the screen which I shared with yellow color? You please mention in the chat box. Can you see the screen, new screen which I shared now? Yeah, thank you. Now observe this. Now I'm going to discuss about signals and systems. As you know, the subject itself is signals and systems. Now in this session, I'm going to discuss about types of signals, classification of signals, operation of signals, and properties. Similarly, systems also, we have different types of classification of systems are there, and the properties of systems are also there. We'll see each and everything in detail. Now the presentation outline is like this. So first I'm going to discuss about signals basic types, signals classification, signals basic operations. Then I'll discuss about systems classification and the properties of systems. Now try to understand. Now in previous class we discussed what is signal and what is system, what are the applications of signals and systems we discussed. Now when I say signal, as you know, signal may be defined as any quantity that is varying with respect to time, space, or any variable, any independent variable can be treated as signal. Now we'll see what are the basic types of signals and how we can represent those signals by a mathematical equation. We'll see in this session. And what are the classifications of signals also we'll see. And what are the operations that you can do with the signals we'll discuss in detail now. Then after that we'll see system. What do you mean by a system? Already we discussed system is nothing but which is takes some input, which gives some output by doing some processing, which process something between input and output, that you treat it as a system. Now we have we have different classifications of systems, and we'll see the properties of systems also in detail. But I'm going to this class also I'm going to take a little bit slow. Now see, we'll discuss signals basic types. Now try to understand the first type of signal, which I can call it as unit step function. So unit step function is one of the signal which most of the times electronics and communication engineers will use in signal processing and signal processing applications, as well as in communication also. This unit step function is denoted by u of t. That is the notation for, you know, for any signal or for any function which is varying with respect to some independent variable, you can write it as f of x or s of x, something like that, right, in a mathematical sense. But here the independent variable which we are considering is time. So I'm going to define that by a mathematical equation u of t. So this is a standard notation for identifying this unit step function. Please try to understand. U of t is the notation given for unit step function, and it is defined by u of t equal to 1 for t greater than or equal to 0, and u of t equal to 0 for t less than 0. Now try to understand. This is the mathematical representation of this unit step function. So what is the meaning for this is u of t is having a value 1 for all the values of t starting from 0 to infinity, and its value is 0 for all negative values of t. Now observe this, if you plot the graph for this. Now if you see this graph, here I represent 0. Right side to this 0 we have positive scale, and left side to that 0 is negative scale, which you already know. So, and on the x-axis I use the variable t, on y-axis I use the variable u of t. Now what is the value of u of t? U of t is 1 for t greater than or equal to 0. So I have to mark the value of 1 for t greater than or equal to 0. That means for starting from 0 to infinity, you have the same value of 1 that will exist throughout the infinity. That means try to understand. This will extend up to infinite. For each and every value of t, it is 1 only. That function you can call it as unit step function. Unit means 1. Try to understand. So throughout the time, the amplitude of the function is 1. Now, what is the use of this? It is used as a best test signal. Try to understand this. It is used as a best test signal, and the area under this unit step function is unity. Now try to understand what do you mean by area under this function is. What do you mean by this area under the function is, when you see this function, if I take this, if I apply this, if I do the integration from 0 to infinity, the total area under the curve is 1. That's what it means. The area under the unit step function is unity. Then I'm going to the next slide. Now see the next slide. This is unit impulse function. Now try to understand. Impulse function is nothing but a pulse of very short duration can be treated as impulse function. So, and this impulse function is denoted by del of t. This is a Latin word, delta, del of t, and it is defined as del of t equal to 1 for t equal to 0, and it is 0 for all other values of t. That means try to understand, you will have a function that will exist only for t equal to 0, and t equal to 0, the amplitude is 1, and for all other values of t, it will not exist. Now see the graph for this. Now here if you observe, at t equal to 0, I have an impulse. This is an impulse. This is a pulse of very short duration, that we call it as an impulse. And this is an impulse, and the amplitude of this is 1, and it is existing at t equal to 0. Now now see the relation between impulse function and unit step function. Now try to understand. In the previous slide we discussed unit step function. Now if you observe this, u of t is 1 from for t greater than or equal to 0, and it is 0 for t less than 0. That means this u of t is existing from 0 to infinity. That means observe it, at t equal to 0, the amplitude is varying from 0 to 1, and it reaches the maximum value, and from there it remains constant. So suppose if I treat this, if I differentiate this, now what is the differentiation of a constant? As you know, differentiation of a constant is 0. So if I differentiate this unit step function, then I'll get impulse function. Now see this. If you differentiate this unit step function, d by dt of u of t, you will get impulse function. Or if you take this differentiation to the other side, it becomes integration. If you integrate over the limits, then you will get the unit step function. So that means try to understand, there is a relationship between unit step function and unit impulse function. So try to understand that here in unit step function, at t equal to 0, the amplitude is varying from 0 to a maximum value. But once it reaches the maximum value, it remains constant throughout the time. So when you differentiate the constant, so what you will get? You will get 0. That's the reason all this value, if you differentiate, becomes 0, and you will get what you will get. Then you will get an impulse function. That's the reason you will get this. So differentiation of a unit step function gives an impulse function, and you take this differentiation to the other side, it becomes integration. So your unit step function is going to get by integrating the impulse function over the limits. That is how it should be. Then the next function, which we call it as ramp signal. The other name for this is a linear waveform, or you can call it as y equal to mx type of equation. That in a signal sense system sense, we call this signal as ramp signal, and it is denoted by r of t, and it is defined as r of t equal to t. Now try to understand. For t greater than or equal to 0, and it is 0 for t less than 0. That means it's now observe this equation, how it looks like y equal to mx. Assume this y as r of t, your m is 1 and x as t. Then that means you have a linear equation passing through the origin, right? So observe it, we have a linear equation passing through origin. So this signal, which we call it as ramp signal. That means why we use the word ramp means as you go on increasing the value of t, the corresponding value of r of t also goes on increasing. So you have a thing that is liking, that is should this, if you observe it, if you plot it like this, you'll get ramp, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means as you go on each and every step for different values of t, it goes on increasing. So such a thing you can call it as ramp. Then now try to understand. Now again we have a relation between ramp signal and the unit step signal also. Now try to understand. Now we have r of t equal to t. That means observe this equation. It is a function, r of t is a function of time. Now if you differentiate this on both sides, what you will get? D by dt of r of t equal to, when you differentiate time, you will get 1, right? That means d by dt of r of t is 1. That is nothing but your 1. When I say 1, it is nothing but your unit step function. So if you differentiate the ramp signal, you will get a unit step signal. Or if you integrate a unit step signal, you will get a ramp signal. Now that is how you can have the relation. Now try to understand. I'm going to link the subject in mathematics with mathematics, that is integration and differentiation also. This is very much required for this subject. So the moment when you're writing the mathematical equation, with that mathematical equation, I'm going to use the notation, I'm going to use the concepts of differentiation and integration to represent that. Now, is it clear? I think if it is okay, you please, the speed is okay, you please say okay in the chat box. Is the speed is okay? Are you following my speed, all that? Yeah. I think Satvika has mentioned some are unable to get class from link.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you please, we shared the new link, right? I think you don't have any problem for that.
Yes, sir. I have no problem, sir. But some of my friends are struggling for that link, sir. Since you have put the new link, they are unable to get into class, sir.
No. Already I shared the new link. No, you joined with the new link only.
Yes, sir. I have joined, but they are not unable to get into class by new link also, sir.
You please ask them to see whether they installed that GoToMeeting tool or not. You please inform them and you please check it. I think all are joined, right? All so far 44 students are joined in this. I don't think there is some problem with from their side, I think.
Okay,
Right?
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, now observe this ramp signal. Now, if you see that there is a relation between unit step signal and impulse signal. That means if you differentiate the unit step signal, you will get impulse signal, or if you integrate the impulse signal, you will get unit step signal. And if you if you differentiate the ramp signal, you will get unit step signal, or if you integrate the unit step signal, you will get the ramp signal. So there is a lot of link between one signal with the other signal. Please try to understand that. Then the next type of signal which I would like to mention is the parabolic signal. This, as you know, when I say parabolic, the equation should be like a parabola, which you already know. Y square, it looks like y square equal to 4ax or x square equal to 4ay, something like that. So when you write the equation of a parabolic signal, and that can, since parabolic signal you don't have the standard notation, we can represent x of t or y of t. Now, but your ramp signal, unit step function, and impulse function, they are the standard notations: delta, r of t, u of t. Don't change that. Then when you see that parabolic signal can be defined as x of t equal to t square by 2. That means when I say y square equal to 4ax, now observe this. This is your y square, and a is 1. You take this 2 to the other side, it becomes 2x. That is how it should be. So x of t equal to t square by 2, and t greater than or equal to 0. And it is 0 for t less than 0. Then when you plot this graph, you are going to get something like a parabola like this. Now try to understand. Now observe this equation carefully. If you differentiate this equation once, when you differentiate, now take the x of t and differentiate it with respect to time. That is dx by dt is equal to 2t. 2 gets cancelled t. Now what is dx by dt equal to t? It's nothing but ramp signal. So if you differentiate the parabolic signal once, you will get the ramp signal. Again, if you differentiate it, then you will get unit step signal. That means try to understand, if you are differentiating the ramp signal twice, that is d square x of t by dt square, then you will get unit step function. That means if you, as you have two times of differentiation, that means if you take this differentiation to the other side, it becomes double integral. So your x of t is nothing but double integral of u of t, or single integral of r of t. Then you will get parabolic signal again. So try to understand this relation. So whenever if I take this d by dt, you take this d by dt to the other side, then differentiation on the other side becomes integration, which you already know. So if you take this, you will get integral r of t equal to x of t. Or since I have d square by dt square, that means I need to have 2 times of differentiation. So one differentiation you will get one integration, another differentiation again you will get another integration. So you will get double integral. So x of t equal to double integral of u of t. This is how you have double integral of u of t, or single integral of r of t. That is how it should be. So try to understand a parabolic signal. If you differentiate once, you will get ramp signal. If you differentiate twice, you will get unit step signal. Then the next function or the next signal, which is an important signal again, this is known as signum function. This is known as signum function. This you can plot with the help of unit step function. This you can plot with the help of unit step function. Now let us see how we can plot this signum function first. This signum function, which you can denote it as SGN of t. Try to understand signum function, which you can denote it as SGN of t, and it is defined as SGN of t equal to 1 for t greater than 0, and it is equal to 0 for t equal to 0, and it is minus 1 for t less than 0. That means try to understand, here t greater than 0, it is 1. That means try to observe this. T greater than or equal to 0, it is 1. That means it looks like a unit step function. And t less than 0, it is minus 1. So minus 1 means I have to plot it like this. Now try to understand this. Now earlier you have seen the upper portion only. That is nothing but your unit step function. Now if you see this, the lower portion, this is also another unit step function, but this unit step function is plotted on the negative dimension. That means I can plot u of t which is equal to 1 for t greater than or equal to 0. I can also plot u of t which is equal to minus 1 for t less than 0. So from this I can write, I have two unit step functions, and now the equation for this signum function is 2 into u of t minus 1. I'll show you why it is 2 into u of t minus 1. Suppose if I plot again, again a unit step function here, so try to understand this 1 is nothing but the DC signal. So when I plot the DC signal, that means this DC signal is existing from minus infinity to plus infinity with the amplitude of 1. So your DC will looks like a straight line like this. So now try to understand. I'll show it at the last. Assume that I have a DC line like this, and this positive and this positive and this negative gets cancelled. Now how many unit step functions you have? U of t, and again you have u of t. So to do this, I'm going to use a simple notepad or white pad for your understanding purpose. At the last, I'm going to discuss this. Once after this, at the end of this presentation, I'm going to discuss that how you will get this 2 into u of t minus 1 for signum function. Don't worry, I'll show it to you practically also to how you will get that. Then after that, the next important signal which we are going to discuss is exponential signal. Generally, you know, when I say exponential signal, you can write it as e power x or e power minus x, something like that mathematical equation. So in time sense, or in the time domain form, the exponential signal can be represented as x of t equal to e power alpha t. Now try to understand why I use this alpha. This alpha is nothing but the scaling factor. I can take different values of that alpha, I can plot it. That is only the thing. And now if I take alpha equal to 0, when you use this expression x of t equal to e power alpha t, if I take alpha as 0, then what is e power 0? E power 0 is nothing but 1. Now observe this waveform. When I say 1, you will have the amplitude 1 from minus infinity to plus infinity. This signal, which you can call it as the DC signal. This signal, which you can call it as DC signal. Now try to understand. In the previous slide, we discussed 2 into u of t minus 1. So now assume that I don't have this part, the negative side, then it looks like u of t. Now, if I have the signum function is like this, right? That means other side also I have another unit step function. Suppose now if I draw a line like this, you are subtracting 2 unit step functions with 1. Then automatically you will get the signum function. That is how it should be. 2 into u of t minus 1. Then coming to the second case, if alpha is less than 0, that is negative. That means when I say alpha less than 0 means, try to understand, you are taking negative value. When you consider e power, then the function becomes alpha less than 0 means it is not positive, which is negative. When you take alpha less than 0, then you will get negative, which is nothing but e power minus alpha t. This function, which you can, as you go on increasing the value of t, starting from minus infinity to infinity, when you take minus infinity, this t and this minus becomes plus, and e power infinity becomes infinite. When you take t equal to infinity, e power minus infinity goes to 0. That means this It's at for negative values of t, it is starting at infinite when t is infinity, and for positive values of t, when t is at infinity, it is 0. So this graph, as you go, it starts from a higher value and it goes on decreasing, such a signal which you can call it as decaying exponential signal. So this decaying exponential signal will occur only when alpha is less than 0. Now, if alpha is greater than 0, then what will happen? Let us see. Now, if alpha is greater than 0, which means that when alpha is greater than 0, we are considering positive signal. We are considering positive signal, and you can write it as x of t equal to e power alpha t. Now, try to understand here. I can take from the negative side, since alpha is positive, I don't need to change anything. Here, for negative time, I have this t which is negative. So e power minus infinity is 0, and if you go on increasing the value, on the positive side, e power infinity becomes infinite. So it starts with the lower value from the negative time, and it goes on it goes on increasing as you go on increasing from negative time to positive time. So this graph is increasing, which you can call it as rising exponential. So try to understand this exponential signal. This exponential signal is an important signal for us. Here we are going to have three cases for exponential signal. One is alpha equal to 0, you will get a DC signal. If alpha less than 0, you will get a decaying exponential signal. And if alpha greater than 0, we'll get a rising exponential signal. Then you may have a doubt. How you can say that decay? Why you use the word decaying? As you go on increasing the value of t from minus infinity to plus infinity. Let us see this graph. Here we have time scale. This side I have negative t, and this side I have positive t. That means assume that here I have minus infinity, here I have plus infinity. As you take minus infinity, t is minus, so minus and into minus becomes plus. So e power infinity is infinite, which you already know. So when e power infinity is infinite, it starts at higher value, and as you go on increasing the value of t, here this side t is positive. So you will get e power minus infinity. E power minus infinity is 0. So it is starting at higher value and it starts decreasing from higher value to lower value. That's the reason we call this as decaying. That means the amplitude goes on decreasing as you go on increasing time from minus infinity to plus infinity. And similarly, we have rising exponential. As you go on increasing time from minus infinity to plus infinity, the amplitude goes on increasing from lower value to a higher value. This we call it as rising exponential signal. Then the next important signal, which we call it as the rectangular function or rectangular signal, and this is denoted as, for rectangular signal also there is no standard notation for representing x of t, and it is defined as x of t equal to, this rect is the word to represent the rectangular signal, a rect of t by this is small t by capital T or small r by capital T. That means try to understand what does this mean. Here rect represents the rectangular function and a represents the amplitude of the rectangular function, and this t represents the time period of this rectangular function. The time period of this rectangular function. Now try to observe this waveform. Now this a is the amplitude of this, which is represented like this, and the time period is t. So it is existing from minus t by 2 to t by 2. If you take the total time, what is the total time? This is t1 and this is t2. Total time is nothing but t2 minus t1. So which is t by 2 minus of minus t by 2. That gives this t. So try to understand this period, which you can call it as the time period. That is this. Now example, now observe this. Here we represent 4 rect by 6. This 4 represents the amplitude, which is here. This 6 is nothing but the time period. So 6 is the total time period. So minus 3 to 3. That is how you have to plot the graph for the rectangular signal. Then I think I hope now I'm going to stop at this point. I will discuss this triangular signal for the next class. I'm going to share one more important thing to you. Let me stop the screen first. As I discussed just now, I'm going to plot, I'm going to write the relation between unit step function and this unit step function, signum function. For that, I'm going to use just paint for your understanding purpose. Just I'm going to use this paint. Now I'm going to share the screen again. Okay, I hope you can see this screen. Now what I'll do is just I'm going to plot the graph with some tools. Let us assume that here first I'm plotting the graph in horizontal and vertical axis like this. Then again I'm going to draw one more line like this. Now observe this up to this. Now this is x-axis and this is y-axis. And I plotted a line. Now this is nothing but my unit step function. But here the amplitude of this unit step function is 1 and it is greater than t greater than 0. I'm going to plot one more unit step function in the other direction. Right? And here also I'm going to plot now see the difference. Now what is the difference between this and this? Now try to understand. Dear students, I think can you see the graphs? Can you see the graphs? You please tell me, can you see this graphs? Yeah, okay. Now observe it. Now what is the difference between this and this? Now assume that this is x-axis and this is y-axis. And here I have drawn this. Here if you observe this, here this is unit step function whose amplitude is 1. I'm going to represent u of t on y-axis. Here I am going to represent t, and here I am going to represent the amplitude, which is 1. Now I have the similar thing here also. Which is u of t. Again I have the time, Now, here the amplitude is 1 in this case. Now, what is the amplitude here? Here the amplitude is -1 and it is existing from -0 to. Now observe this, both are unit step functions only. Here, this unit step function is having an amplitude 1 and it is existing from 0 to infinity. And here this is a unit step function whose amplitude is -1 and it is existing from -infinity to 0. Here this is 0. So now what I'll do is I'm going to draw a line throughout. This is nothing but my DC line. Now try. Now tell me. Now observe this. Your signum function is this and this, right? But what happened? I have a DC line there. And how many unit step functions are there? 2 unit step functions are there. And this gets cancelled, right? So I can write 2 into u of t minus 1. That is my equation for the signum function. So that is how you can use this signum function. Now here I would like to show you some of the tools which I am going to, which are very important to you. Now just have a look here. This is one tool which I am going to post it in the chat box also. First, I am going to copy this link and I am going to paste it in one of the website. I'm going to connect it to the net. So I'm going to open it through hyperlink here. This lab, this lab, the name of this lab is Virtual Lab, and it was developed by IIT Guwahati. And now you see this virtual lab. They developed this lab using LabVIEW tools, using LabVIEW software. Now you can see, we can visualize this. Yeah, see this screen. Now you can see this. We have iitguwahati.ac.in. This lab name is known as Virtual Lab. Here we have so many labs are there. Electronics and communication students, they are also having so many labs. Here we have Signals and Systems Lab. I'm going to click this Signals and Systems Lab now. Now, the moment you click this Signals and Systems Lab, you can find so many experiments here. Then the first experiment is signals and their properties. So in this example, you're going to see the demo of simple signals, even and odd symmetry, signal matching and transformation, various properties of impulse signals, all that we'll see. Now I'm going to click this. The moment when you click this, you have a simulator. You click that simulator. Now demo of simple signals. The first experiment is demo of simple signals. Now see here. Now here we have Just I'm going to click this. Actually, you have to click this. The moment when you click it, the moment you click this, you will get a sinusoidal waveform here. Similarly, I think because of it's I'm going to this Zoom GoToMeeting, and this it is not compatible, I think. But actually, the moment when you click this, you can see this all the waveforms very clearly. I'll share this link to you. You can have a look of it. Just this link, in this link, you click signals and systems. Just I'm going to post it in the chat box now itself. You please check it. This is one link which I'm going to posting it to you, and this link is basically meant for you can visualize the basic signals. If I vary the amplitude or time, how the signal is varying, all that you can see with that virtual lab. So that is one link. I'm going to show you one more link which is very useful to you. That is we have another link, another one known as FOSSEE, and this was developed by IIT Bombay, and which is a open source platform. Now see this FOSSEE. This is the FOSSEE platform. Here, if you click resources, you can have all the resources. Like we have resources like Scilab, eSIM, OpenR, R programming, Python programming, all that. Every resource is there, and eSIM is similar to this. eSIM and Scilab is very useful to you now. Scilab is a programming tool which is similar to MATLAB. I hope I conducted one workshop for you when you are in first year. Now you have to use this Scilab for signals and systems now. So try to understand. I am going to give some assignments also on this Scilab. Let us get ready with that. And you have to do a small project with the help of Scilab. And for that also I am going to give some marks. So Scilab, now if you click this Scilab, these are the resources for Scilab, and we have lab projects, all that, and Scilab toolbox. If you see this textbook companion project, here in this you're going to have all the books which are written, or electrical books. You can type the title also, signals and systems. Now observe this. So if you observe this, signals and systems by Sharma, signals and systems by S. Ghosh, signals and systems by Krishnaveni, Sham outline signals and systems. Like that, we have so many textbooks on signals and systems. What they have done here is, if you click any of this link, you are going to get the code as well as the PDF. I'll show you. I'm going to consider this Ghosh book. Now observe it. Here we have, now observe this, download the Scilab code for solid examples and download PDF. Now if you click PDF, this Ghosh textbook, whatever examples that are there in the textbook, they have written the codes here, and those codes are available, and the same code in PDF form is also available. So you take any textbook of your choice. It's up to you to decide. You can take ebook from the website. Take the textbook and take this take one of these book and use Scilab to practice this. Now you may ask how you can download from this. Now observe it. Here we have scilab.in. You just click downloads. Click the latest. Now observe it. Click here to download the latest release of Scilab. If you click this, automatically you can download your Scilab from the website. See, Windows Vista, Windows, all that, Windows 32-bit, Windows 64-bit, Windows 10, all that. You can directly, you can click this, automatically Scilab you can download from the website and you can install it from in your system. Once after installing it, using this FOSSEE, now you have to start working on that. So now I'm going to share that link also to you now. One link for downloading this Scilab. I'm posting that in the chat box. Then one more link on FOSSEE. Also, I'm going to post it. So dear students, please check the chat box. I posted 3 links. One is IIT Guwahati's virtual lab link. You have to go down. You have to go and see the experiments that are there on signals and systems. And the second one is Scilab. You have to download from the website. And the third one is FOSSEE. There you can find Scilab code and Scilab code PDF textbooks are there on signals and systems. You can download and you can start working on that. So these are the 3 core things which I shared now. Now you please copy those links and save it in your system for further use. And I observed, yeah, Dave, I have posted some material in the Google Classroom also. Please try to understand. Even so far, even some students, they have not registered so far. I'm going to open my Google Classroom account now, and I'll show you. Let me stop sharing screen first. Just wait another 5 minutes. I'm going to conclude. Yeah, I'm going to share the screen now again. Now see this. This is my Google Classroom account. Only so far 37 students have enrolled. Please, all of you, I request all of you to register with your Gmail account, and I can see how many people are there also. See that here I can have only 37 students have clicked this, checked this, and the people who have not checked it, I think Bukya Lokita, you have not checked your mail, and like that some people I'll show you this. There are some people who have not checked even their mails also. Please try to understand. Now we are teaching the classes on through online. Please check your mails. I repeat once again, please check your mails. In the next week, I am going to conduct first assignment test through online. Please get ready with that. I am going to provide the material also. Please see here. Here I have provided the material also. See this introduction to signals and systems. Here you have this YouTube, the PDF of the lecture, as well as the YouTube information also is there. The same class, whatever class I discussed in the class, the recorded one also I uploaded. So you have to check your emails regularly. It's your responsibility to check your emails. Only the moment when I send the information, you'll get a message. Please check your email and you download the necessary information. And I'm going to conduct online test or even descriptive exam also in Google Classroom only. Please try to understand that. So in the next week, I am going to conduct one exam on the topics, whatever be the topics that I discussed so far. Get ready with that. So today I am going to share the next PDF file also, and with the video link also like this. Try to understand. After completion of every lecture, I am going to provide the information like this. Lecture material, day 1 introduction to signals and systems, day 1 PDF, and the YouTube. That means whatever thing that I discussed in the classroom, the recorded video, I am going to share it to you. Similarly, day 2, day 3, day 4, like that, I'm going to post every day immediately after the completion of the class. And you have to, it's your responsibility to check that. And I'm going to conduct the exam also through online. Those who have registered, for them only will get the message. Even now, I'm going to share this code. This is the last chance I'm going to give you. Those who have not registered through that, as per the information given by the CR, there are around 58 students are there in your class, but so far 37 students are registered. CR, you please pass this information to all your friends. Afterwards, I will not allow them to join in this. I'm going to share the link also now. The Google Classroom link also for you. This is, here it mentions class code. Don't use that. It is RB6, R66, something like that. Only use that. I'm going to share that in the chat box. You copy that, and with your Gmail, I'll show you how you can join this. You have to go to your Gmail account. There, Google, go to, do you know how to go to, please tell me, do you know how to use this Google Classroom? If you know, let me know. Okay, yes, sir. Otherwise, I'll show you how to go through, how to go to that. This is the code R6. All of you know that how to go to the Google Classroom. Good. Only thing is what you have to do is first you have to go to your Gmail account. For Google Classroom, you need to have Gmail account. Let us assume that this is my Gmail account. Here you have Google Apps. There you have to go to Google Classroom. You have to click this Google Classroom. Here we have two options and the plus symbol, create or join a class. Since you are the student, you click this and join. You have to click join class, and when you click join class, it will ask the code. Then you have to give that code. Already I shared it in the chat box, R6 something like that. That is the code for Signals and Systems class. So all of you, those who have not joined, so far only 38 students are joined. Join now immediately. Rest of the CR, you please share this information to all other friends in the group also, ma. CR, please respond. You copy this class code, R6 R6BBROS is the class code, and you pass this information to all your friends also. Those who have not registered, first finish that. You will get all your information. Please try to understand. I'm not going to share any material to you. You have to gather the information through only this Google Classroom. నేను మీకు ఒక పేపర్ కూడా మీకు ఇవ్వనమ్మా, ప్రతిదీ కూడా నేను గూగుల్ క్లాస్ రూమ్ లోనే షేర్ చేస్తూ ఉంటాను. మీరందరూ కూడా దాంట్లోకి వెళ్ళి కనెక్ట్ అయ్యి గూగుల్ క్లాస్ రూమ్ నుంచే మీరు డేటా తీసుకోవడం కానీ ఎగ్జామ్ రాయటం కానీ ఏది చేయాలన్నా కూడా దాని నుంచే చేయాల్సి ఉంటుంది, రైట్? So with this, I'm going to conclude for today's session. So post your attendance and you can leave. Those who have completed, those who have posted the attendance, you can leave. Or those who have not joined in the Google Classroom, I have to see that. CR, you please inform to all your friends. By the next class, all your 58 members should be there in this Google Classroom. Please see that. ఎవరైతే గూగుల్ క్లాస్ రూమ్ లో లేరో వాళ్ళ నెక్స్ట్ క్లాస్ లో నేను ఐడెంటిఫై చేసి ఇచ్చేస్తానమ్మా, ముందే చెప్తున్నాను. మీరు క్లియర్ గా అర్థం చేసుకొని దాని ఇంపార్టెన్స్. ఇప్పుడు ఆన్లైన్ క్లాసెస్ లో చాలా ఇబ్బందులు ఉంటాయి. మీకు మెటీరియల్ అంతా కూడా ఇంత కష్టపడుతూ ఆ మెటీరియల్ అంతా ఆన్లైన్ లో షేర్ చేసి మీరు పాఠం ఎలా చదువుతారు? మళ్ళీ ఎగ్జామ్స్ కూడా ఎక్కువ టైం కూడా ఇవ్వనమ్మా ఎగ్జామ్ కి. ఆల్మోస్ట్ ప్లీజ్ ట్రై టు అండర్స్టాండ్. ఎవ్రీ వీకెండ్ యు ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు హ్యావ్ వన్ ఆన్లైన్ ఎగ్జామ్. గెట్ రెడీ విత్ దట్. ఆ ఆన్లైన్ ఎగ్జామ్ కూడా చాలా ఛాలెంజింగ్ ఎగ్జామ్ లా పెడతానమ్మా. Here, please see that all of your friends should register in that. And already I shared this some few days back. Even now I am sharing the code also. With that code also they can join. So see that all 58 members should join before the commencement of the next class. Right? With this, those who have post, I'm going to conclude for today's session, and I'm going to post this today's lecture also immediately after the completion of this class.